earn 100 grand. I think the Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, made this comment, also devised the budget, and it shows just how out of touch he is.
Okay, thank you. Oliver mentioned the Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt. He wasn't talking about Twickenham, he was talking about Surrey, but he said that £100,000 is not a huge salary for people in his Surrey constituency. What do we think? Seema Malhotra.
I think it's absolutely right to say that it's not just Jeremy Hunt, but it seems to me that the whole of the government is out of touch with what's going on in the country and the reality of people's lives. And it isn't just how the mismanagement of the economy has really hit people's lives, whether that's rising inflation and food prices, or mortgages and rents, all of those real painful struggles that families are facing. And on top of that, you're seeing children, increasing numbers of children growing up in poverty. There's new figures out recently as well, where children in so many ways have borne the brunt of the decisions that the Tories have made, which has seen a transfer of wealth in so many ways from those who are working families to those who are the most wealthy. And I think that this is why we need a change. We need a change of government, and we need a change of direction for Britain.
Just to the essence of the question here, though. So Jeremy Hunt was saying that when you've got a high mortgage, when you're paying for things like childcare, I mean, let me just give you some stats. So we're in Richmond upon Thames Borough. The average rent, according to BBC research, based on Zoopla listings last year, was just over £2,000 a month. The average house price is £747,000 in Richmond. So in that context, do you think £100,000 is a high salary, medium salary, Seema?
I think it's relative to what's going on. I think people across the country are suffering. There are going to be people on low incomes as well in every area. But
where do you set the bar of what is a high salary? Do you have an idea?
Well, I don't think that's the way to have this conversation at all, really, because that is a high salary. But I think what you are also needing to have the conversation about is how are families across the country suffering after 14 years of the Tories' impact on our economy, on inflation, on interest rates, the impact of the Liz Truss budget. Anyone remember her? It wasn't that long ago, and we're still paying the price. But also the impact it's had on our public services, our NHS, and our schools, and so many other parts of our public life.
Seema, thank you. Is it possible to get by on 100 grand in Twickenham? Tim Stanley.
I think he might be more right than you think. I'm not quite sure what point he was actually trying to make, because it's a sort of an indictment of 14 years of Conservative government.
He was, just for a bit of context, he was talking about childcare, so people on £100,000 who don't qualify for free childcare.
So what's he saying therefore should be done? Because the obvious question to then ask him is, so why, after over a decade, is the cost of living so high? But also, why are taxes for people who are high earners so high? Because of fiscal drag into higher tax brackets. So they've been hit by a double whammy of those two things. I'm not quite sure what point it is the man was actually trying to make. But he's actually correct. I live in Kent, which is not far up, and if nothing else, the cost of a house alone just prices the vast majority of people born in the area out of their own area and compels them to move. And it isn't fair. It isn't fair because not everyone can earn that kind of salary. I'm not quite sure what sort of job one does to earn 100,000. I should be doing it. But it's also not fair because lots of people want to stay in their area and do jobs which don't pay like that, to be a nurse or a doctor or a teacher or something. And that's important to contributing to that area. But as I say, if his point is that under the Conservatives, even he's achieved a kind of egalitarianism whereby even very wealthy people consider themselves to be poor, I'm not sure that's something to boast of.
Okay, Andrew Griffith. Is it? Can you get by on £100,000?
Well, of course, it's a very significant amount of money, and a lot of your listeners up and down the country will clearly think that's a huge amount. We do have in our country, one of the challenges of our economy is how concentrated it is in the southeast. That drives up scarcity for many resources, and it's also one reason why it's important that we get to grips with the unlimited immigration that we've seen over many decades, because that is driving up the costs of those rents, as you say.
Is it immigration or is it a housing shortage?
Well. However many homes you build, clearly, if you're adding to the demand at a much greater pace, then clearly that's one of the issues, one of the headwinds that we face. And what the Chancellor was talking about, I believe, was childcare, the improvements to childcare to allow more families to make choices about how they wish to work to do that.